But I think so many of our people don't do anything because they feel like they don't have the power to make a difference.
You mentioned the term force multiplier, and I've heard you talk about this dozens of times as I've heard you speak. I don't know if I've heard you dozens of times speak, but I've heard you speak several times, and you use that term. So explain what a force multiplier is, and then I want to get into how we need to be using this to move the needle in our nation.
You know, I think so many of our people, and when I say our people, I'm talking people that actually believe in right and wrong, that believe in the Bible, that want to live in a free nation, that, you know, some of those basic things. I don't even mean Republican or Democrat, liberal or conservative. I mean people that just, they still believe in freedom of speech and due process and all those basic ideas that made America the Superman motto, you know, truth, justice, and the American way. If that's you, you're our people. But I think so many of our people don't do anything because they feel like they don't have the power to make a difference. They think, I've got to be president or a congressman or got to have a show like Garrett or like Rick, and otherwise I can't make a difference. And so this force multiplier is the ability to take your one voice or your one vote. Let's just take an election. You have one vote when, hopefully you're only voting once, but you have one vote when you go into that booth. But if you take your voter guide that you've chosen, the 10 people you're going to vote for, let's say in this election, and you share that on your social media tools, or you pass it out at church, or you tell your friends and family about it and say, here's the voter guide of why I chose these people and what they stand for. Here's who I recommend. Well, if 5 people take your advice and walk into the booth with that thing, you've multiplied yourself and the force that you are in the culture 500%. That's a 5-fold increase. It makes a difference. When you share, as I was saying earlier, when you share on social media the show, or you do the like and the comment and all those things, you're increasing that algorithm and you're causing more people to see this. You're a force multiplier. You're becoming literally a more, your force is greater than yourself. And I just think we sometimes think that we're in a vacuum, that it's just we're not having an impact. We don't always get to see the results of what we've done.
That's right.
But when you take those steps, that's why, Garrett, it was 3% that fought in the revolution and still were able to give us a free nation. You had 25% of the country for it, 25% against it, 50%. I'm not even sure they knew it happened, right? Not even paying attention, kind of like most people today. It's a small percentage that makes a difference and pushes the whole country that way. But the reason is because they're doing the things that multiply their ability in having an influence on the culture. So it's too easy to not do. I mean, honestly, if you don't realize the trouble that we're in as a nation, and you don't realize that we need you, that our nation needs you, that your kids and your grandkids need you, you've been living under a rock. I bet everybody watching this show, in your gut, things are not right. And we need to make a difference. And you probably also in your gut feel like, I wish I had a larger voice. I wish I had more people listening to me. I'm telling you, God's given you a voice. He's given you a platform, no matter who you are and where you are. He's given you a realm of influence, even if it's just 5 people in your home or your neighborhood. It might be 50 people at your church. Use the tools you have. Thomas Jefferson and Paul Revere and all those guys, they didn't have Twitter. They didn't have Facebook. They had to ride on a horse, from one colony to the other to get word out whenever you're doing the committees of correspondence. They had we got it easy, man. We just a couple of, put a few words in, hit send, and you're a force multiplier.
Literally. Or even just share. I mean, just share a tweet. Yeah. Just if you agree, right. You wouldn't believe how important those small steps are. And the Bible talks about not burying your talents. There are so many things in the Bible that talk about stewardship. God knows that most of us are not Donald Trump or, some gigantic cult of personality, that he knows what he's entrusted to us, and we're called to use it. I got to say, when we got into this ministry, we knew no one. We didn't even know what God was calling us to do. We just knew that he was calling us. And so we were taking one step at a time and trusting him to show us the next step. And yet now, as we look back a few years, we can see so much fruit. And I'm sure the same is true with you, Rick, that once you start moving in your calling and doing what God's called you to do, you will see him also multiply the fruit from that. So, man, I thank you for bringing that up. This episode of Rapid Response was brought to you by CTC Math. Visit them at ctcmath.com today.